Hey everyone, welcome to Tea Time with Tillison. I have my cup of tea. So today we're talking about how to Google+. So as usual, make sure you subscribe for future shows. I'm talking to Adam Futer next time about Webmaster Tools, so join us for that one. Make sure you subscribe. If you have comments and you have questions about Google+ that we're not covering, and we are talking about a lot of stuff on Google+ today, but mention those in the comments and we'll try and address those after the show later on YouTube or Google+ or whatever. So I've been really looking forward to this. So with great pleasure, welcome Donna Beckett.
Hello, hi Mark. Thanks for having me.
You okay?
I'm fine. Yes, I've been looking forward to this myself. I absolutely love talking about Google+.
Excellent. And most importantly, have you got your cup of tea?
Got a bottle of water.
Health check. No way. Right. Okay. So just tell us, you run the UK Connect community, but that's not your day job. So you're not a social media firm like we are, but you use Google+ a hell of a lot. So just what do you do as a day job, and kind of what attracted you to Google+ in the first place?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm a solicitor and I own a legal practice in Chorley, Beckett and Co Solicitors. I am a social media addict. I will not deny that, but you're quite right, it isn't my day job, and all of my social media activity is, well, it was initiated really as a way of giving my business a boost online and trying to raise our profile online. Didn't realize that I would get quite as addicted to it as I have, but I've seen some real benefits to our business over the last 2.5 years, which is the period that I've been using social media seriously for business purposes. And yeah, big fan of Twitter and huge fan of Google+. Absolutely love it.
Okay, excellent. I should also mention that things that we refer to in this chat, so if we refer to another video that we might have done or some resource or whatever, I'll put those in the description afterwards or put them in the comments so you can find them. And I might even try some funky YouTube cards, so there'll be an eye somewhere on the screen. I'm not allowed to point to it, but it'll be somewhere and you can link to those. So let's dive in. We've got 10 questions that we're going to run through, and I'm sure there'll be lots of other interjections and things, but we're going to take a meander, have a cup of tea and try and help everyone understand why they should use Google+ and some of the questions that I know I get asked a lot, and I speak at conferences about Google+, and I know that you get asked these a lot as well. So let's start with the one that everybody asks, everyone that's not on Google+, which is, my customers aren't on Google+, why should I bother?
Well, why should you bother? I think the argument that your customers are not on Google+ is a bit of a spurious one. Most people that follow me on Twitter, for instance, are businesses, they're business people. And when I first started using social media, I thought, why do I want to connect with a lot of business people? Because my business, solicitors, we are business to consumer. We don't sell our services, provide services to businesses. And then I had a light bulb moment one afternoon when I realized that behind each of those business Twitter accounts, there is a person. And that person may at some point in the future need legal services that my business can provide. So it's exactly the same on Google+. Yes, a lot of the people that are on Google+ are there for business reasons. They're there initially for business purposes. I'm on there initially for business purposes, but I'm also a consumer. So, you know, it might not be that, you know, you sort of think of it in terms of traditionally my customers, my you know, B2C customers are not using Google+. Lots of different people are using Google+. And more non-business people are starting to use Google+. That's my experience that I've noticed certainly in the last 12 months. Lots of individuals starting to use the platform. So I would dispute the fact that your customers are not on Google+ in the first place. I think that they probably are.
Okay. I mean, again, it depends on your definition of what Google+ is. If you're coming from it's Facebook and there's Google+, and if you view them exactly the same way, then, well, okay, there's a social platform and you can post stuff and you can chat to people and there's a comment thread. And the comparison with Facebook is, well, if you're posting stuff on Facebook and there's a comment thread, then you're using Facebook. If you do the same on Google+, then you're doing Google+. But actually, people do leave reviews for local places. That's part of Google Plus.
Yeah.
So you are using Google Plus, and if you're using Google Search, you're using Google Plus. Even though you're not posting on Google Plus, you're still using the system. The other thing I always say to people when they say, well, you know, my customers aren't there or whatever, is okay, well, let's say there are, I don't know, let's say there are 100,000 people in your potential audience, and they're all on Facebook. And so are the 1,000 competitors that want to speak to them. Now, if your competitors aren't on Google Plus and there are 5,000 potential people that you could reach on there, it's a lot easier to have some impact with a smaller audience in a room of 10 people than it is to stand in the middle of a football stadium and try and speak to the entire crowd whilst all of your competitors are doing the same. So, you know, I don't think the no one's on Google Plus, it's a ghost town. It doesn't hold any weight, and I think everybody on Google Plus just goes utter twaddle. I mean, it's just not true. You know, I can come home. I'm rarely kind of check notifications during the day, but I can come home, look at my phone, and I'll have 38 notifications on Google Plus, and I may not have even posted anything that day. You know, so ghost town is twaddle, nonsense. But even so, I would say it's much easier to connect with people in an environment where there are fewer people. I don't think it's none. And it certainly isn't none. That's just not true. The other reason is, and we've got some questions later about SEO, and we'll maybe go into some technical side of that. But yeah, everything's tied in together. You know, Google Plus is Google. So you talk about Google Search, you're talking about reviews and local listings, you know, all of that stuff. It's all wrapped in together. So I don't think Google Plus is dying anytime soon. So let's just put an end to that nonsense as well. Okay. So the second question we had was, is this just Google trying to compete with Twitter and Facebook, which I guess I answered a little bit, but what are your thoughts? Is this Google just saying we'll have some market share from Facebook, they're worth $1 Brazilian, we'll just nick some of their market share?
Well, I think it makes sense for Google to have a social element to, you know, as part of its products. I mean, it has so many products and services. Why not have a social platform? And my view is that, you know, Google Plus as a social platform takes the best bits from the other platforms and adds some cool stuff on top. So it's a really good platform. If it's Google competing with other platforms, why not? Why shouldn't it? You know, some people sort of say, well, you know, Google Plus is a way of Google obtaining information and data, you know, and that it then uses that data when it's producing search results. And we do have personalized search results now, so that, you know, people using Google Plus, if you then go on to Google search, you will get personalized results, and Google does use your data. But I don't see that as a bad thing. So, you know, and you're not, people like to compare the different platforms. They are all social platforms, but they are all different, and you know, even if they've got lots of there are some similarities between them. People use them in different ways. Some people absolutely hate Twitter and love Facebook. Some people absolutely hate Facebook and love Google Plus. It's giving people a choice, and I think that's a good thing. The more choice there is, to find a platform that suits you as an individual, suits your likes, suits your needs, suits your business. Great, why not?
Absolutely. I mean, I usually explain to people, and we've got a demonstration of this, just a very quick one a bit later, about the personalized search that you mentioned, and why that's important. But essentially, the demonstration I kind of give, and I get loads of people standing up in a room, and if anybody's watching this has been in one of my talks, they'll know there's quite a lot of exercise in them. But you know, we kind of illustrate, you know, why do we go to a particular hotel? Why do we buy a particular pair of shoes? Why do we buy from a certain website, or go to a certain solicitor if we've fallen off a ladder or whatever it might be? You know, why do we do those things? And quite often it's influenced by our peers. You know, I was really lucky and went to New York in December, and I reviewed on Google Plus. I reviewed the hotel. It was great. Really enjoyed the stay there. It was right, you know, good place to stay. And I left a review. Now, the point is, if you were going to go to New York and you search for New York hotels, then actually you're more likely to want to know about the one that your friend stayed at. And that's the whole point of Google Plus, is it's socially influenced search results that mean more to me as an individual, not the world in general. And that just goes back to point one of Google, which is that lovely word we use a million times a day, which is relevance. The hotels that are in New York that are more relevant to you are those that your friends have stayed at, not the rest of the world. And that's what Google is trying to build. And that's the reason, people say, well, they're just building another platform where they can serve ads. The consensus seems to be that's not what Google will ever do. Facebook, you got it in stream, and Twitter in stream, and everything else, and we run campaigns for those, and they're very effective. But that's not really what Google's intending for this. I don't know that for a fact, by the way, but certainly, a lot of the other people on Google Plus have been saying that. So,
but I think the fact that Google Plus is currently ad-free is a massive plus point from a user experience point of view. I get absolutely sick and tired of ads on Facebook. Twitter's going the same way. So yes, it makes a nice change to be on a platform that you're not being bombarded with ads on.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of technical things then. So what can we do on Google Plus that we can't do on other platforms? Because there's a lot more to Google Plus, which does make it a bit more confusing to start with. But yeah, there are lots of features and functions, and maybe you want to give us a heads up on a few of those.
Yeah, I think that's, people say to me, I'm a great advocate of Google Plus. People quite often ask me if I'm employed by Google because I talk about it so much. I encourage people to try Google Plus, and I run workshops on Google Plus and try to get people enthused about the platform, and people can very often see the benefits. You can talk about the benefits and they can see those, and you can demonstrate them, and it's easy. They get on the platform and it all seems a little bit complicated, and it isn't particularly complicated compared to other platforms in my view. It's just that there is so much that you can do. You're kind of presented with so many different options that you kind of, people can become overwhelmed in a way. But if you just break it down to its simplest format, just as a platform to post on, it's very simple, it's very easy. But for me, the big thing that you can do on Google Plus, and in a way that it takes people a little bit of time to get used to, maybe the idea of using circles, and actually being able to target your content. So targeted sharing, to me, is a big advantage that Google Plus has over other platforms, particularly over Twitter. You can literally target you can create groups of people, and you can target relevant content to those groups. You can use it from a personal level, sharing things with just one. I have a circle with just my husband in it, so I can just share things to that circle, and only he can see what I'm sharing. So it's very, very targeted, literally from one person all the way up to public, and that's I think one of the features that really makes Google Plus stand out.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the fundamental things right from the beginning. It was called Google Circles, and for precisely that reason, because we all have different social circles. We have a social circle of friends that we went to school with, or people that we play sports with, or mums from the school that kids go to, or whatever it might be. And actually, they're different social circles. And then we've got a business social circle or whatever, and they are different. And the conversations you might want to have with family and family friends are different from business, because those people aren't interested in Google Plus. It'd be like me sharing Google Plus content on Facebook. I go, hey, look, do some SEO, it's great, and share it on Facebook. I mean, I wouldn't ever do that, because that's not that social circle. And so I think, yeah, absolutely, that's a fundamental construct of Google's system. And just going back to the Twitter, Facebook thing, those have been kind of retrofitted almost, certainly to Facebook and Twitter now with the group direct messaging and things. They're almost a retrofit, whereas Google's been designed from the ground up to do that. There is another video, I think, on our channel. I put a link in to kind of how to use circles. So I think I did that about a year or so ago, and there's a little desktop demo that'll show you how to do it anyway. But we've also got the threaded comments on Google Plus, which obviously you don't have on Twitter.
Yeah.
You were saying about that before.
Yeah, to me, that's where the gold is on Google Plus. It's in those comment threads, and the fact that they are, you know, everything's in context, and you get notifications when somebody, you know, adds to the thread. To me, that's where the value is on Google Plus, and where you can really start to build those relationships. And obviously the other big advantage that Google Plus has is that it's seamlessly integrated with all the other Google products that people use. You know, as we mentioned earlier, people might not realize the extent to which they're using Google products, but people are using Gmail, and they're using YouTube, and you know, Hangouts. We're hanging out now. Yeah, there are other applications and that allow you to sort of have face-to-face conversations over social channels, but do they then record it for you and upload it to YouTube and you know, post it there for you? No, they don't. Google does, because it's all one business, it's all one company, and it's all integrated. So again, to me, that's a big plus point that Google Plus has over the other platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do events as well within Google Plus. I know you could do those with Facebook, but you can't do those with Twitter. We've recently added polls, and that kind of went, hooray, polls, and everyone went mad, and they've all quieted down a little bit. But they're quite fun. I think my red or brown sauce one's still running somewhere. Go and find it. In fact, I'll put a link in just for everyone to go and like join in. Red or brown sauce with bacon sarnie. Good, excellent. So moving on, how often and what should I post? That's something I get asked a lot. Do you get asked that quite a bit?
I do, and I mean, it is slightly different. I mean, if you take Twitter as an example, you can maybe, some people post on Twitter every half an hour throughout the day and night, and you can probably get away with that on Twitter because the stream moves so quickly, and you know, the tweets, you know, they hang around for about 15 minutes and then they're kind of gone. Google Plus, you don't really want to be bombarding people every half an hour, but I don't think there's any sort of set right or wrong way of posting and the number of posts that you need to do in a day. I think the key is to turn up regularly. Turning up once every 6 months isn't going to cut it. I personally, I mean, I can literally go for days and not post anything at all, and then other days I might post 2 or 3 times in one day. It's about whether I have something to say, whether what I'm posting is relevant, you know, if I've found some good content. So I wouldn't sort of encourage people to have a hard and fast rule. I mean, I know some people have, you know, they're very regimented and in the way that they post on social media, and you know, they make sure that they have a, you know, a post in the morning and a post in the afternoon, etc. That's fine. I'm a little bit more sort of hit and miss with it, but it's turning up regularly. For me, more important than how often should I post is how often should I engage. And to me, you should be engaging as much as possible. I'm engaging on Google Plus at various points through the day, from morning till night, and that's commenting on other people's content, plussing other people's content, reading and taking an interest in what other people are doing, rather than focusing all your attention and your efforts on what you're doing. Think about focusing out on what other people are doing and encouraging them, and you'll find that then, you know, that you'll reap rewards from that kind of behavior as you go along.
Absolutely. I mean, I in the social media training that we do, in the Twitter training, Google Plus training, you know, all that kind of stuff that we do, I mean, one thing we always make really clear is, look, this is about relationships and reputation.
Yeah.
Sharing your latest blog post, sharing your next blog post, sharing another blog post, and keeping doing that. You're not building relationships there. You're probably creating a reputation for yourself, but probably the wrong one. So, you know, if you want to build relationships and your reputation, then actually talking to people. It's a little bit like a networking meeting, you know, and the breakfast meetings that you go to once a week or every 2 weeks or whatever. You don't stand in the middle of the room and start shouting about your business and who wants to buy something. That's not what it's about. You're there to build relationships. So yeah, I mean, again, it's not necessarily a kind of hard and fast rule, but I would always say at least 4 times more kind of engaging and commenting, probably more like 10, but you know, much more commenting and engaging and resharing other people's content and thanking them as you do it, etc. As much as so sort of 4 to 10 times at least more than you post, you should be commenting and engaging and responding and being in a community, answering questions there that you're qualified or have some insight into. More on communities in a bit, but yeah, it's much more about the discussion, the chat, the engagement on all of the social platforms, Google Plus especially.
Completely agree with that. Yeah.
Excellent. Same page. Excellent. Okay. So how do I get people to engage on my posts?
Well, we've just sort of touched on that. The easiest way to get people to engage on your posts is to, let's go back. The ideal way to get people to engage on your posts is that you create amazing content that is so wonderful and useful, and it blows people away and they can't help themselves. They have to plus it, comment on it, and share it. That's the ideal. In reality, unless you're a fantastic producer of content, and I'm certainly not, I don't really produce a lot of content, it can be difficult to get engagement on your content. I mean, some people, I know we've got Malcolm Oakley who's watching us now, and he produces brilliant content because he produces these fantastic blogs, walking the South Downs Way with fantastic photographs that they're amazing. And here I am in my office in Chorley, in my legal practice, trying to think of wonderful content to produce that's in context with my business and what I do. And I actually find it very difficult to find interesting things to post about. So when I post, it's perhaps not going to be quite as engaging as one of Malcolm's posts. But so you have to go down a slightly different route and not concentrate too much on the sort of what you're posting, but think about engaging with other people. The reason that I get engagement on my posts, I think, isn't because my content is amazing. It's because I've got a reputation. I've built relationships on the platform, and I engage on other people's content. I share other people's content. I take an interest in other people, and because of that, when those other people are scrolling through their streams and there's all the dozens and dozens of posts, maybe when they see my little face pop up in the stream, it just catches their attention because they're used to seeing my face pop up in their notifications because I've been commenting and I've been chatting with them and we've been building a relationship, and they're much more likely to just stop as they're scrolling through and take a look at my content and plus it or comment or engage on it in some way. That's certainly my approach. That's what gets me to engage. I look out for content from people that I have those deeper relationships with. So I think the primary way to get engagement is to produce amazing content. I think I've only done that once. I once did a blog post and I did a little graphic for it that seemed to I thought was really a bit naff, to be honest. I thought it was very simplistic, but it seemed to grab people's attention, and that post got reshared more times than it was plussed. It was, kind of took off a little bit for me. But otherwise, it is about trying to find interesting, useful content, and really just trying to reciprocate and build those relationships, and you'll find that people come back to your content and support you in the same way that you support them.
Absolutely. I've done a couple of blog posts around this actually about I'm a big Stephen Covey fan. You know Stephen Covey?
No, should I?
No, okay. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People and other stuff.
Oh, right.
But one of the things he goes through, and this was fantastic book and audio available from Amazon. Other stores are available, I'm sure. But he talks about, and this isn't a social media thing specifically, but it applies exactly the same way. He talks about investing in the emotional bank account. And this is whether you're talking about a relationship with your husband or wife or your children or your people on the team you play in or people in some community or whatever. But social media and social circles exactly the same. Is if you want to withdraw from the emotional bank account, you've got to invest.
Yeah.
You can't expect someone just to go, I've never heard of you, but I'm going to reshare your content or comment on it. because you haven't invested in that relationship first. So why the hell should I? You're a stranger. So, you know, if you want to make withdrawals, you've got to make continuous deposits. But yeah, 7 Habits, I strongly recommend it. I'll put a link in. I'll find it on Amazon for you. I'll put it in there. But yeah, it's a great book, and I recommend it to lots of people. And it's incredibly famous as well. I'm amazed you haven't heard of it. But yeah, I think, you know, the emotional bank account analogy that Stephen, rest his soul, no longer with us, but that he kind of explained and give it that context. I think it's perfect. It fits.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I'm you know, very similar. I think, you know, the engagement that I get on a lot of my posts, even if I'm posting publicly, I get people from the UK Connect community that you run, because I've kind of connected with people and built relationships on there. I get comments on my public posts from those people, but interestingly, I also get comments from those people on Twitter because it's the relationship that's the important part. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I guess probably a similar thing. The next question was, how do we build a following on Google Plus? And what you should probably point out, this is like the Twitter thing that drives me nuts. I don't care if you've got 50,000 followers or 5. There's not a game to see how many you've got. If you want to do that, go and buy some Mexican fans for $20 and go be happy. And you're an idiot, so don't do it. But anyway, yeah, how do we build a following? Same way?
Same way. I mean, talking about Google Plus, one point that I always make is that I see lots of people, they'll come to me and say, Donna, how do I get followers on Google Plus? You know, I've been on there, I'm posting things, and I've still only got 30 followers, and you've got 18,000 followers. How did you do that? Well, I waved a magic wand. No, I didn't.
I bought some Mexican followers.
The starting point, when I look at these people's profiles, quite often their profiles look like they're empty, because even though they're posting to their circles. So my starting point is post to public, because it's amazing how many people, when they first start out on Google Plus, they seem to be really reluctant to post publicly, and they'll post to their circles, and that then limits who can see it. So anybody new coming along doesn't see your content, and somebody like me comes along. I mean, the number of times I've seen some content and I thought, that's great, I'm going to give that person a little boost, I'm going to reshare that for them and give them a bit of a helping hand, and then I find that I can't reshare it publicly because they've shared it to a limited audience, and I have a rule that I will only share publicly unless I'm sharing into a community, because we'll come on to the SEO benefits, but there's SEO benefits, and you only get those when you're posting publicly. And I'm not going to go to a lot of trouble posting on Google Plus unless I'm going to get a maximum possible exposure to that content. So the starting point is post publicly. The second point is turn up regularly, because again, you have people and they'll sort of say, well, I tried Google Plus and I couldn't really get any traction, I couldn't get any followers. They're just not there enough. If you're going to discipline yourself with social media, the discipline that I recommend is to turn up every day. You might not post every day, as we said, but at least turn up every day. Do something on there every day. Preferably post something, but comment and engage every day. And you will soon find that your following starts to build. And follow other people. I mean, that's the starting point, isn't it? I'm not suggesting that you just go and scattergun approach, follow anyone and everybody. You can do that, and you'll get everyone and everybody following you back, and they're not necessarily going to be relevant to you. But look for relevant people to follow. Google Plus, I mean, all social media platforms have quite decent built-in search engines within the platform for you to search for relevant people. Google Plus obviously has the king of search engines built into it. It's fantastic. So yeah, go onto the search box, search for keywords that are relevant to your niche or your business, to your location, and follow the people that come up. Go onto their profiles, engage, start a conversation. That's all I do. I go on social media and I chat a lot. You know, that's what it's about. And these relationships start with a simple hello quite often. You know, you go on and just comment on someone's post, and that's the start of it. So that's my advice. I'd also just mention that when you are posting, going back to the sort of search issue, using hashtags is a big tip. And I must admit, I'm terrible. I quite often forget to add hashtags to my Google Plus posts. But again, the hashtags are really good and useful to help people find that content that might be relevant to them. And if people find your content, quite often, if they like your content, they will follow you. So hashtags can be really, really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I have a theory about the sharing privately, by the way, because I see a lot of people doing that as well. And my theory is that when you post on Google Plus, if you change the circle or circles that you're sharing it with, the next time you post, it goes back to that. And I think most people that are doing that don't actually know that they're doing it. So I don't think it's fair to kind of always blame the user and go, you're only sharing and you're kind of, you know, as you said, I think some people go, well, I'll just share privately. But I think some people just don't actually know they're doing it. And I've said, you know, people have reshared my content before. And you kind of go along and just go to say thank you for resharing, as I normally would, just as a courtesy. And then, you know, somebody who I'd had quite a deep conversation with about Google Plus, and I said, you do know that you're sharing that privately, don't you? No. What's that? And they just don't know. And you know, so I mean, that's the thing. As I say, there's another video or a blog post I'll share in the links, just that explains kind of how circles work and how to share stuff. But yeah, on the SEO question, basically Google doesn't index any of the links that you share privately. So if you share it with a limited circle, Google can't index it. If you share it into a community which is private, Google won't index it. If it's a public community or you share it publicly, Google will index it. And you were saying in the green room earlier that actually you did some tests and it was how quick?
We did. We were testing this, and Google Plus post was showing up in Google search engine results page results in about 4 seconds, under 6 seconds. It was almost instant. So yeah, it's a really, really powerful way to get your content out there.
Awesome, good. So we've mentioned the UK Connect community a few times, and you are the queen of the UK Connect community, and it is great. And there's lots of great, fun, interesting people, and I've had lots of chats in the community and outside of the community with a whole bunch of them. So what made you start? Because I've seen loads of people start communities, and I've started one, and I just, you know, you just go, that'd be great, and then you kind of get bored. And so why did you start it, and why, more importantly, why have you continued with it? Why did you stay the course, I guess? I
think because it surprised me, and because it was successful right from day one. In a way, it was the victim of its own success. I started it because I had lots of UK connections, and people were coming on to Google Plus and saying to me, well, you know, Google Plus is okay, but nobody in the UK uses Google Plus. They're all in the US, they're all in Asia, so there's no point me using Google Plus. And I was sitting there with a few circles crammed with wonderful people from the UK who were active on Google Plus. And I was trying to connect people. So I was trying to help other people connect with other UK users. And I started off by sharing a couple of my circles so that people could kind of, you know, add in my circles to their circles and add people in. And people loved that. They thought that was great. It really helped them. But I thought, well, I can't just keep sharing circles. There's got to be a better way. And so the idea of the community popped into my head. I didn't give it much thought. Don't set up a community like I did. You know, give it a little bit of thought before you do so, because I just kind of sat there and hammered it off and, you know, did it. And I invited the people who were in my UK circles, and a great lot of them accepted. And on our first day, 90 people came along to the community and introduced themselves and said hello. And so the momentum was there right from day one. In a way, it was the victim of its own success, because a lot of people then turned off their notifications because it was so busy in the first couple of days that their notifications were pinging away and they were going crazy. But it just seemed to fill. It filled a need. That there was obviously a need for that kind of community, for people to come together and network. There are other communities that are based on the UK, but I was quite strict from the outset that the community is request to join only, or invitation only. I'm very strict about who I open the door to, and I'm very strict about saying that you have to be based in the UK to be a member of UK Connect. And it's to keep it relevant, really, for the members. And it's been good fun, and I've met some fantastic people through the community, and it was also a way of sort of developing those relationships with people. So a lot of the people I was already connected to, but we didn't necessarily have much engagement, whereas the community kind of gives us a common meeting place to get together and chat and engage, and it's just gone from there. So yeah, we're up to 1,600 members, which as a Google Plus community is still quite small, because I mean there are communities out there that have got tens of thousands of members, but it still seems to be very engaged and quite an active community, and people come and go, and the people who are active kind of changes over time, but it's great. I love it. Best community on Google Plus.
I have to say, you utterly cheated setting up that community. You'd already created the community, really.
Yeah.
You just then called it a community and moved your community into an actual labelled community.
Yeah.
So, but bravo. I mean, I did much the same. I kind of started creating the UK circle, and I remember I shared one of my UK circles and said, these guys, and I that wasn't just me going add. It was people I'd kind of, people like you that share good content, and you engage with people, and you do comment, and you've got that kind of social element. It's social, and it's about chatting back and forth and building relationships, and the people in that circle were all people that did that. So it was me saying you should genuinely follow these people, because they're great, they're in the UK, and they share good content, and they'll probably share yours if you build a relationship with them, and so on and so on. So I did much the same. So yeah, okay. What's next? Oh yes, what's this Hangout thing? What? I get that all the time. What's this Hangout thing? And what's video? And what's it, Skype, or what is it? I mean, this is what we're doing now. So I'll cover this one off, shall I? So basically, a Google Hangout is or Hangout on Air. Let's start with that, because we're doing a Hangout on Air right now. So this is a video call between myself and Donna. We could actually have, I think it's up to 10 guests. It's me plus 10, is that right? In this call, and because it's a Hangout on Air, this is also being streamed on YouTube, and it will be on our YouTube channel later on, and you can watch this anytime you like. Perfect timing, my phone's going off. Superb. So that'll be on YouTube as well. Excellent. I'll just launch that across the room. Excellent. Did the mobile? That's muted. Home phone never rings, apart from in the middle of tea time chats, apparently. So yeah, so this is on YouTube, and it will be recorded on YouTube, and it will be there, and anybody who's not watching live can watch this later. A Hangout is essentially the same thing, except that it doesn't get recorded and posted to YouTube. Is that about right? Yeah.
And obviously there's also, I use the chat function, which is also sort of part of Hangouts as well. So when I'm working away at my desk, I get a little box that pops up, and you can just have a little conversation. But yeah, I think Hangouts is a really powerful tool for businesses, and it's another way for businesses to create content that they can get out there. And YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the planet. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do these kind of every second week. We do these, and we've been doing them for a while, and we kind of kept quiet about them to start with, and got used to how the tech worked, and made sure things like phones didn't ring in the middle of them, and we haven't learned that lesson clearly. but you know, just if we screwed it up, we didn't want too many people, and we could just delete it and start again. And we've kind of got used to them, and we bought some better kit like this, and we bought a better camera and all this kind of stuff. And the first few, if you look back, the camera quality is awful and the sound isn't that great, and it's just kind of hang out and having a good time and just chatting. So, and we've gradually kind of continued with that. And video marketing generally, I mean, lots of video marketers out there, and of course, you know, people always say to me, "Oh, is video good for SEO?" Well, okay, video is really great for connecting with your audience. Yes, it has some SEO benefit, but do it to connect with your audience and create your brand and what you do. Now, for us as a business, this stuff's great because we can, you know, this is our personality and we like a chat and we know what we're talking about, and that's great. This isn't necessarily, if someone came to me and went, well, you know, I want to do video marketing, can you do that? We're not a video production company. That's not what we do. If you want a highly polished corporate video and you're a firm of solicitors with 50 partners or something, then this may not be, I'm not saying it's not, but it may not be the right platform for you.
Yeah.
You know, this is much more informal. You know, as we're just having a chat and a cup of tea and talking about something. Now, if that's your personality, your brand, then it's great. But if it's not, if you want that polished video or you want animated stuff, this isn't the platform for you.
Yeah. But I think Hangouts as a communication tool, and I see all social media as a communication tool. That's what it is in its basic form. I think Hangouts as a communication tool are fantastic. We've had some Hangouts in UK Connect, and it's a way of taking, though we're talking about using social media to build relationships, and you know, taking it to the next level is in a Hangout. So we've done that, and you take that relationship to that next level because you're chatting to someone face to face. You're actually, you know, as we are now. And then we've actually taken that further than that in UK Connect, and we've had our UK Connect gathering, and we've had our face-to-face gathering. But if you can't have a face-to-face gathering, Hangouts, next best thing. Brilliant, love it.
Absolutely. I should say as well, I mean, we do a lot of our training or coaching, Google AdWords SEO training, coaching, and you've done some of this with Adam as well. We have done some of that using Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
So, you know, we typically use GoToMeeting, but actually you can use a Hangout. It doesn't need to be a Hangout on air. You know, if we were doing some coaching with you on SEO, for example, you probably wouldn't want that on YouTube because it's very personal. It's about your business. But you can use these tools. And the biggest thing we haven't mentioned is it's free. Yeah. It doesn't cost you a bean. I mean, brilliant. So, yeah, excellent. But yeah, I've really got into them with this combined with YouTube. You know, I'm having a massive love affair with YouTube at the moment. Just brilliant. So yeah, excellent stuff. So we touched a little bit earlier on Google Plus and SEO, and there are blog posts that Adam's done about Google Plus and SEO. And I would always say, as I said earlier, don't do Google Plus for SEO. Do Google Plus for the reasons we talked about earlier about, you know, building your relationships and reputation, and wrap the Google Plus, wrap the SEO layer around that. Did you have any comments on the SEO Google Plus thing?
No, I agree with you there. I think that too many people get hung up on the SEO side of things, and they develop their social media strategy around the SEO, and they will be the types of people who end up what I consider to be broadcasting on social media rather than connecting. And you know, Google Plus, we're talking about Google Plus as the social side of things. It's a social media network, and to me, it's social and network are the two important words in there. So yeah, there are some fantastic SEO advantages, main one being that, you know, your content is indexed by Google, and if someone is connected to you on Google Plus and they use the Google search engine, your content can surface in their search results, and the fact that they're connected to you makes it, if your connection's a fairly deep connection, it makes it fairly certain that their content will surface quite high up in their search results. So there are really good SEO. I mean, obviously, and you can go on about sort of the SEO benefits of having a Google local page and showing up in maps, and it all comes back to the integration, basically, of how Google and Google plus pages and profiles are integrated with Google products as a whole, and helping people be found in wider search.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a whole heap of stuff about author rank and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into that today, but that's maybe we'll do another show on that with somebody sometime. I'm just going to see if I can screw up this demo just that I set up just to illustrate personalized search, because this is quite an important thing that people maybe don't necessarily realize. So let's just see if I can make this thing work. Okay, so let's go to, okay, so in this, is my screen sharing okay? You can see that? Yeah. So I search for how to get more from Google Plus communities, and then I've got Google support pages, a whole bunch of those, Social Media Examiner, Mashable, and all of those kind of usual people that you would expect. Now on this window, I should say I'm logged into a Google account, but this is not the account that I use for Google Plus. If I switch to my other window, same search query, this is me logged into Google Plus. Hey, look, there's Donna's little face. Hooray! So Google, the whole thing is all about relevance. So let me just flick back, show you. So that's me not logged into Google Plus with my connection to Donna. In fact, this account I've logged into doesn't have a Google Plus account. And then this one is me logged in, and same search query, 10 seconds apart, and there you are.
Yeah.
So let's just stop that. Right. Okay. I'm back. Hooray. So yeah, the point being, this is all about relevance, and that's the key thing with Google. Is the whole thing is about relevance, and what's more relevant to me as an individual is content or recommendations, or what have you, from my peers, from my friends, from the people I'm connected to, and that's how we buy things. You know, if you think, oh, where am I going on holiday? Where am I going on holiday? Oh, have you been to Turkey? You ask somebody, you ask a friend, and you go, oh, it's awful. I don't want to go there. Don't go to this hotel. This one was great though, and that's going to influence you. And that's what Google Plus really is. It's a social platform where you, as an individual, every individual will get a set of search results that are influenced by many factors. But actually, the demonstration I do in my talks is, well, I've got 10 backlinks. You're going to buy from me. But don't care. I've got 100 backlinks, don't care. Got 1,000 backlinks, but don't care. Well, my mate recommended you. Oh, now I care.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally what Google Plus is. So it's socially influenced search results, which makes Google a better search engine, which keeps the shareholders happy because customers keep coming back and using Google. So that's what Google Plus kind of really is. You won't have to come to my talks now. Rubbish. Excellent. So do you need Google Plus for SEO? As you can see with that example, yes, it's really valuable. You know, in that way. I mean, there's lots of other SEO techniques that you can use, but as I would always say, with whether you're talking about Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or YouTube or Pinterest or any of those other platforms, is it good for SEO? They're all good for SEO. But focus on the reasons that you should be there first and wrap SEO around it. You optimize the content. You don't do it for SEO. It's the secondary reason for doing those things. And there's a massive rant blog. I'll put a link in that went really well on Google Plus, by the way. I had loads of people with like 500,000 followers sharing this thing, of just going bravo, and me going just stop it. You know, this isn't a numbers game. This is, you know, this is about good content. So we've got one more question. Before I do that, just a reminder that next time out, I've got Adam Futer, who's an SEO specialist, just talking about SEO. And we're talking all about webmaster tools and some of the funky things you can do with that to help you understand what Google thinks of your website. So we're going to be sharing some stuff on that, and that'll be in 2 weeks. So make sure you subscribe for that. Last question then, Donna, and this is one that comes up all the time for me, and I'm sure you get it as well. Should I have a Google Plus page or a Google Plus profile? So maybe explain the difference between the two, and then what your experience is of the answer to that.
Well, your profiles are for people, basically. So when you see my smiley face next to a post, that's my profile. And pages are for, you know, at the simplest level, they're for your business. They're for your, you know, your business or your organization. I personally have both. I have a profile, which is Donna Beckett, and I have well, I have a couple of pages, but my main page is for my business, Beckett & Co. Solicitors. So, and I post different things on the two. Which should you have? Well, it depends on your business, really, and your business model. I've got to say that there are, going back to SEO, advantages of having a local Google Plus page, a Google page for your business if you have a bricks and mortar business. There are advantages just to allow you to help you be found in search, and maps, etc. So that makes sense to have a page for that reason, if for no other. But it can be difficult to manage both a profile and a page. My own experience is that I find it much easier to engage as me, as Donna, than I do from behind a logo and behind a business name. And as a result of that, I have sort of 18,000 followers on my profile, but only 2,500 followers on my page, because I find it easier to engage as a person, but other people find it much easier and more comfortable to engage with me as a person rather than as a brand. And so it can be difficult for brands, unless if you were selling chocolate, we all love chocolate, and you're posting pictures of chocolate, people are going to love it, they're going to follow your brand page. But for the majority of businesses, it can be quite difficult to build a following for a brand page. It's not impossible, but it is more difficult. The ideal scenario would be to have a profile and a page and cross promote between the two. So, post on your page and then perhaps reshare that content to your profile. And I do a little bit of that. But I've got to admit, I'll hold my hand up. I tend to neglect my page a little bit, and you'll find this comment quite frequently made across Google Plus, that people find it quite hard to sort of concentrate on their page, and because they get involved with the relationship building, and that's more as a profile. I mean, there are people out there, and they are their business. So if you are the face of your business, then you could argue that there's not really much point in having a separate page, and you might as well stick to your profile and engage in that way. But so, yeah, it depends on the business. I will just give two examples of two people who I think do the profile page thing really well. They're both members of UK Connect. One is Phil Buckley, who has his page Enduring Solutions, and the other is Julia Poole and her page Elite Cleaning. And they're both brilliant at finding funny and engaging content and posting as their page, but showing the personality behind the page by engaging as themselves as well. And they both of them, I think, are really good examples of how you can work a page and a profile in tandem on Google Plus to get the most out of each. So as I say, I stick with my profile probably 80% of the time. I probably should engage a bit more as my brand, but that's just personally for me. I find it much easier being me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a policy as such. It's not written down anywhere or anything, but it tends to be. I kind of picked this up from Mark Traphagen. Mark on Google Plus as well. And he posted ages ago about this, and I think this is kind of an SEO thing, but a brand thing as well. Is what we tend to do is the Tillison Consulting page, which this Hangout is on Tillison Consulting, not on my personal profile, and the reason for that is because that's connected to the YouTube channel. Otherwise it ends up in the wrong place and you can't move it. So that's on the Tillison Consulting page, and it tends to be kind of industry commentary that we would share, or our own blog posts and those kinds of things, but that's more a kind of brand voice, if you like. And the same as you, I would struggle to engage with a brand because you're trying to talk to a human being, and you're not a human being, you're a page. So that's really difficult. So the idea generally, and you'll see that Mark works now for Stone Temple Consulting, and they follow this, and we've kind of use their model as well, which is keep the business page focused on what the business is about,
Yeah.
and keep it consistent and consistent with the brand. And then you can have your so you've got kind of, here's your page, and then underneath you've got each of the individuals supporting that page, that are then sharing things from the business page, but also then their own stuff. So keep your Saturday pics from your personal one, and your pictures of Easter eggs and that kind of stuff, and keep your brand stuff on brand.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way we do it. So from a kind of an SEO perspective, if you like, we're kind of building the authority of the page by resharing amongst the personal relationships with each of the individuals that make up that brand. And we're quite lucky. There's kind of 10 people in my business, all doing lots of different stuff, and they have different circles of influence on Google Plus. Some quite a lot, some not much, some not at all. But that's the way we tend to do it. But you're quite right. If you're a huge brand, then having a brand page with someone managing it is kind of acceptable. If you're a high street, if you're Boots or Next or Cadbury's or something, then people don't expect to have a personal relationship with that brand or somebody in that brand on Twitter or Google Plus, and that's fine. But yeah, the personal relationships are formed with a personal profile. So I agree with you. I think in that context, you should have both. Also remembering that your Google Plus page could be a local page, which is tied into Google Maps, and it's a bricks and mortar store, or it's a cleaning company, like the two you mentioned earlier, or it's a physical shop, or it's an accountancy practice, or a solicitor's practice. Those should have a local page, and this is something that we're trying to unpick for a few clients at the moment, where you can have a local page, brand page, and again, you should have the right page for your sort of business. And switching between the two, as we've spent hours trying to unpick it for people, is just a royal pain. So if you are going to set up a page, make sure you pick the right one. So a local page has a local map on it, and all that stuff. You can still post, you can still do all the things we've been talking about today, but you have a local listing and people can do reviews and stuff. And then a brand page is, you can still do all the same stuff. I can't remember if you can do reviews on a brand page. Do you know, Donna?
No. Do you know what? I'm not sure you can.
Okay.
No,
So you can't do reviews, and you don't have a local listing. So, I mean, it seems to me, and this is somewhere where I think, really, is this really the right way to go about it? So if you are Domino's Pizza, name check, send me some pizza, thank you. So if you're Domino's Pizza, they are essentially saying you should have a brand page for Domino's Pizza, and then you should have a Google Plus local page for every single one of your 4 million stores across the UK. How on earth do you keep up with sharing the content on that many pages? And surely it's all duplicate content. So that's a bit nuts. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what the policy is, and maybe we can do another show on that another day. But yeah, I just think it ends up in a bit of a mess. Anyway, anything else you want to add? I think we've done nearly an hour. This will be a record.
Oh. Yeah, just to mention, anybody else who's thinking about asking me onto the Hangout, you will go over time because I chat too much. It's just something that happens. No, I mean, I think I think everything we've discussed today, Mark. Google Plus is so much. There's so much to it. You could literally talk all day about a tiny piece of it, and you can go into the ins and outs. But I mean, my hope is that just seeing us two who are great advocates and lovers of the platform, if just one person watches this video and goes away with a little bit more enthusiasm for the platform and thinks, do you know what, I'm going to give it a go, then I'm a happy woman, because I do think that people should give it a go. And I'll also just make the point about Google Plus that I don't know about yourself, but certainly when I first joined Google Plus, it was, I can't remember now, three and a bit years ago. It was quite early on. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't have a clue, didn't get it, and went away and left it for 12 months. And it was only on my second attempt that I actually got it, and I made a real effort to kind of get my head around it. The same story applies to Twitter. When I first started on Twitter, 18 months, didn't get it, thought it was a waste of time, and then it all started to click and fall into place. So if people have given Google Plus a go, or they're on the platform now and thinking, I don't really see what I'm doing here, I can't really see the benefits, stick with it, or or give it another go, because I do think it is worthwhile sticking with it, and it's a fantastic platform. Obviously, if you're in the UK, come along and see us in the UK Connect community. We are actually going to be having some community hangouts as well, focusing on some of our members. So just to sort of, again, get the community as a whole used to using Hangouts, because I think that Hangouts are a little bit alien to most people. As you said, your first forays perhaps weren't quite as polished, and the tech goes wrong and things like that, and people do worry about that a little bit. So I think the more that people can practice with these things, and realize that the platform generally is a pretty friendly place to be. So not to worry too much about making mistakes. I think sometimes people worry about making mistakes, and that perhaps stops them from just getting on with it. Just give it a go.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, join the UK Connect community, or at least ask to, and go and make some friends there. I'll put a link in. We've got a Google Plus guide, which is all the stuff we've mentioned, a whole bunch of videos, a load of blog posts of how to do different things, how to set things up, how to share stuff, how do you do circles, how to post correctly, and all this kind of stuff. It's all in that guide anyway, and I'll put a card up on the video, and I'll put a link in there for you so you can go and opt in. It's completely free, and it will just land in your inbox, and a sequence of emails that will just kind of drip feed you little bits over the next few weeks or whatever. So you can have that for free. It just remains for me to say thanks ever so much, Donna. I've really loved having you on the show, and I hope you'll come back again sometime, and we'll talk about maybe one or two things about Google Plus rather than do everything. And we'll do that. But,
thanks very much for having me.
Thanks ever so much. Brilliant. And enjoy tea. Well, water.
Thanks very much.
See you soon. Thanks a
Bye.
lot.